Hi knitters, welcome to episode 157 of the Knitty McPurly podcast. I am your host, Devin AT. You can find me at KnittyMcPurly.com. I am Knitty McPurly on Instagram, and if you want to email me, I am Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. Welcome to the podcast. How are you guys doing? I am warming my hands out of this lovely Maryland mug. Thank you so much, Melissa, who sent it to me. Melissa from Maryland. I've always thought that the Maryland flag was kind of awesome. I love the colors, and I just think it is a really, really pretty flag. I don't know what all of these things symbolize, but I like it. So I am really warming my hands on this right now because it's kind of cold. It's not that cold outside, and I was actually kind of warm this morning when I went out, but it is extremely dreary and rainy, and I don't know, I'm feeling a little bit cold. So, so welcome. I'm happy. Today is Sunday. I have a fun fact to share with you outside of the segments. This week, my kids and I were talking about collective nouns, like a herd of sheep or a herd of cattle or a murder of crows. And so we were like, I wonder what the collective noun is for knitters. And it is a cozy of knitters. So in case you were wondering. All right, progress and shop news. Now, I have been back ordered on Dresden DK. So if you pre-ordered it from me and you're going, where is my Dresden DK? Why do I not have it? Squishing it in my hands right now. It is because it was back ordered. So I always just assume that the mill will have whatever I want whenever I want it. And sometimes they don't. So I just had to wait a little bit, like a week. It wasn't too bad. My big box will be here on Monday, and I will dye your yarn and it will be out to you this week. Last week was the first Sunday of December, first Sunday of Advent, and I forgot to show you December's color of the month. Normally, what I do with the color of the month is I dye it on Frankfurt Fingering and Dubrovnik DK, and it's available all month long. Even if on the 30th you decide that you want some, you can get it. But because this is December, and two of my kids have birthdays in December, and I just wanted to be a little bit more present to the people who live in my house, I decided to do a December sock set, and I did one run of it, and I genuinely expected it to last for a while, and it sold out by the 4th. I'm really sorry. Many of you expressed disappointment that was all there was. I apologize for that. And I should have been more upfront about it. Like I just didn't communicate it well. So I apologize for that. But that was the plan for December's color of the month. It was a peppermint bark sock set. But don't worry, more fun stuff will come, I promise. If you missed out on this one, there's always more coming down the line. There are 2 new Advent calendar ornaments this week. So I got my octopus on his little, isn't he so great? I've been seeing your pictures of your finished octopi if you're an old school Latin user, although octopuses is an acceptable variant. I've been seeing your finished octopuses on Instagram, and they are so, so great. I just think it looks great on this little candy cane string. So I've got him up there. And this is a spoiler alert if you are behind. I'm only going to show the 2 ornaments that we knit this past week from the Knitty McPurly Ornament Knit Along, which you can still jump in on if you want over at my website. Go over there and pick one up if you haven't already. We knit 2 ornaments this week. The first one, here it is. Look away if you don't want to see it, and maybe fast forward a little bit because I'm going to talk about it just for a minute. Is Bertrand. Interestingly enough, I think he's the only one who got a name, and he has no eyes. So there are many, many characters who have eyes and kind of a face, but no name. And Bertrand has no face, and he gets a name. So whatever, he's the only kind of quasi-human, although I don't think gnomes really are humans from, you know, like in the Tolkien sense. So I knit Bertrand, and there were variations available for his beard. So I did a very clipped straight across straight beard, but if you wanted to do a curly beard, there were directions in the pattern for doing that. And a lot of people did it. I was surprised because it's a little more work, it's a little more effort, need the supplies. But people did it, and it just came out so great. And some people did a combination straight / curly beard. But the most important part of Bertrand's beard was that it just needs to be really thick and full. Like you really don't shortchange Bertrand on his beard. He's got to make a good showing with the other gnomes. This was a super, super simple ornament. There's a lot of gnome patterns out there, and some of them are really intricate. Bertrand is crazy easy, so simple. And I have him on a string, so I'm gonna hang him on the tree. Yay! I had somebody send me an Instagram message, and she was like, Devin, how are you ever gonna top this advent calendar? It's the best one yet. And I agree, I think this is my best one yet. I also think that we're gonna do ornaments forever. Like, I just don't see going back on that. It's a lot of work to design them all, but it's worth it for the fun. And there's just something about ornaments, you know, they live forever. I have ornaments on my tree that I made in kindergarten and that my brother made in kindergarten. Why I have them, I have no idea, but it's really cool. Ornaments live forever until they break, but these are not fragile. So just don't let the dog get a hold of them. Ruth Ann. Okay, the other ornament that we knit this week, when I was trying to decide what to design, I was just looking for cute, adorable, modern stuff. Like, what's something that's out there that people are doing? And I thought an avocado with a pit that's a heart. And so we made that. Isn't it so cute? Now, you can always add in more facial features, and you don't have to put your eyes on the heart tops. You could put the eyes here. You could do them close together. I use bigger eyes. You can use any eyes you want. There are no rules. Now, one thing about the avocado is that these parts were all knit flat. And then I have a whole video of sewing together the avocado. And it's just so fun. I love it so much. This was actually a high failure design. It took me a lot of tries to get the shape that I wanted. Now, Bertrand was super easy. He just flew off the needles. So simple. But the avocado and the octopus took me a lot of tries, but they're easy to knit. They're not hard to knit. It was just the design process. So we'll hang him right there on the tree. Oh, can you see him? Am I gonna block him? I'll move over. Yay! I love it so much. So if you didn't get an advent calendar this year and you're thinking, gosh, that looks like fun, get one next year when they go up on sale. Probably August, I'll have them up, if all goes according to plan. So that's really fun. Yes, so happy. I hope you're having as much fun as I am. Like I said, I already knit mine because I knit them when I designed them, but I hope you're enjoying knitting them as much as I did originally. Okay, another thing I wanted to point out to you, in case you didn't know, is that I have a nativity pattern. And I just noticed that Joseph and Mary are they're kind of sleeping back here. But I'll start with baby Jesus. Now, a lot of people don't put baby Jesus in the nativity until Christmas, and I respect that. I get it. I'm just lazy and forgetful, and I lose things, and so I just keep the nativity together. It's a practical thing. So mine has this awesome, it's like a bone button that I got from the button lady from, I guess it was either the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival or the Shenandoah Fiber Festival. There's a lady, I assume she's local unless she goes to every fiber festival. but she has these amazing, really old-fashioned buttons. And he is swaddled in the traditional swaddling sense, but he is very simple. He's faceless and he's got a little crown, and I feel like that is a fingering weight held together with a mohair. The pattern is written for worsted, but as I'm going to explain throughout this podcast, with toys, you can use any yarn you want. Really, anything you want. It'll all be fine. So this is the very simple baby Jesus, and we swaddle him very simply, just like you would swaddle a baby. You put the head by the corner, and you pull up one corner, and you fold over the one with the button, and then there is the buttonhole. Again, this is a pattern that's in my shop if you're interested. I knit mine mostly out of Cascade 220, but some of it is scraps. Like, I don't know if you can see, but this has a halo. I don't remember why. I feel like there's a mohair in there. And his halo has a halo, because duh. So here is Mary, and also faceless. Oh, and she has her hair is in 3 parts so that you can give her a braid like that. And then at one point there was a piece of yarn holding her braid in place. But again, faceless, and she's got some poly pellets in her to help her stand up. And then her cloak, also I knit with a mohair. And this is another button from the Button Lady. It's just really kind of on theme. It's on brand for the Holy Family to have kind of old-fashioned buttons. So there's Mary with her cloak. And the directions for her cloak have a loop that go around the button. And Joseph's cloak is exactly the same, but his just has an I-cord here. So you could knit them both that way if you didn't want to use a button. And poor Joseph, he's sporting a very nice garter stitch beard, but he is bald. And red is I believe, a traditional color for St. Joseph. He's always, not always, but often pictured in red, and Mary is typically pictured in blue. So, and his cloak looks very rustic too. This is a mohair held with something. Again, I knit these a long time ago. I used a lot of scraps. I think it's in the pattern. But yeah, that's my nativity. And I got this little stable from Hobby Lobby. Go when they're 50% off, because that's the only time they're ever even slightly reasonable. And my dad made me this manger / creche, as it is sometimes called. And I had these, he made a bunch of them. And I actually, the year that I released the pattern, I had these in the shop. So some of you may have this exact one, but this is always out at Christmas. And I normally have it downstairs, but I thought I'll bring it up and show it to you because maybe you haven't seen it. Maybe you're new. Which reminds me that I am wearing a hand knit sweater. I'm not gonna stand up all the way because I'm wearing sweatpants underneath this, but this is the gilded sweater with the bishop sleeves that come in at the cuff. This is a very easy to wear sweater. It's very comfortable. It's soft and warm. And I put it on after mass because it was hot this morning and now I'm cold. So it's nice right now. Okay, topic of the week. We're going to deviate from our discussion of mosaic knitting because my life took a turn. My knitting life took a turn this week because it was Charlotte's birthday a few days ago. And she had been asking me for this pattern. This is the Kirby Werby knitting pattern by Helena Murray Design. And this particular monster pattern, I think, is available as a knitting pattern or as a crochet pattern. So you could do it either way, which sounds awesome. So she'd been asking me for this for a long time. And I homeschool her. Like, she's here a lot. And I thought, I just cannot knit this and have it be a surprise. But if I knit it and it's not a surprise, I'm not gonna get a moment's peace. Like, she will hound me about it every second of every day. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna try to knit this monster as best I can. And I'll knit in front of her, the stuff that I can knit in front of her that doesn't look like anything. And when it starts to look like a monster, or if there are obvious rainbows like in the leg warmers, I will knit that at another time. So I didn't sleep much this week. I got up early and I stayed up late and I knit this monster. And I want to go through this pattern with you because it was so, so fun. It was just a joy to knit this pattern. I would knit it again in a heartbeat. I would crochet it too. That sounds like a lot of fun. So and it took me a solid week of every spare minute working on it. So you could get it done by Christmas if you have someone in your life who you think would appreciate this monster. I purchased it on PayHip and it was 12 Canadian dollars. So I used all scraps. I didn't buy any yarn. I used all scraps. Now, this is an example of the pattern calling for worsted weight yarn, and I used whatever I wanted. You can absolutely sub in any weight yarn for a toy pattern or an ornament pattern. You just have to change the needle size. So this called for a US 7, which is I think a 4 millimeter, is that right? US 7. And I used a US 6 to make it. And so here, let me just show you and I'll go through the pattern. Now I think I haven't done it yet, but probably I've used this in my thumbnail. So you've seen it a little bit, but here, the skates. Oh my gosh. So I want to go through this pattern with you because I had such a good time knitting it. The body of the monster, I used DK. I used all different yarn and I used the exact same needles for the whole thing, the US 6s. So, and I feel like that gave me a good fabric. Now this whole bottom half of him is the poly pellets, which are like the little plastic beads that you can put in the bottom of a toy to make it sit. But I have had enough experience with these to know that no matter how tightly you knit, you're still gonna lose them if you don't put them in something. So I used one of those little muslin bags that I've included in previous advent calendars that have the Knitty McPurly stamped on them. I used one of those and it's about the size of the bottom half of him, and I just filled it with poly pellets and stuck it in there. And the rest of him is stuffed normally. I didn't put any in his hands or feet because I really just wanted him to sit. So the body of him is DK. You might recognize some colors. This is the Fontaine colorway. This is worsted. This is Cascade 220, I think, that's worsted. And I'm pretty sure that was a scrap from the Nativity. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's Cascade 220 in some kind of natural color. The hair that comes out of his helmet is all of the scraps that I used here. Now, some of these are fingering weight and I held it double. Like this purple is Quince & Co. Chickadee, which is a fingering weight yarn, and I just held it double. This color, I think this is from 29 Bridges, and I'm pretty sure it's a bulky, but it worked. And this blue is a fingering weight that I held it double. You can see it like it's maybe slightly bigger, but it's all fine. Like it totally works. Now, and his name is Tom. Charlotte named him Tom. His little feet are adorable and they're actually knit differently. There's a left foot and a right foot, which I thought was really cool. So I'm gonna pop the skates off and I'll just take you through the skate. This one I think I sewed on a little bit crooked, but no one cares. So this is each set of wheels. Let me start at the beginning. I'll start at the beginning. So you start by making the arms, okay? And I could knit those in front of Charlotte because they didn't look like anything. And then you knit the legs, and they are bottom up. The arms are also bottom up. So when you get to the top of the arm, you put the stitches on a holder, waste yarn or some sort of holder. She suggested a needle, but I didn't have enough needles, so I just put it on, I think like a stitch marker. There weren't very many stitches, so it fit on like a closable stitch marker. And then you put all of these things on hold. And I thought this was a really interesting construction because when I design toys, I kind of do it the opposite way. She starts with the limbs and then picks up from the limbs. So you have your two legs and you cast on for the body, and then you knit the body all the way up. And then when you get to this round, there's a designated round where you attach the arms, you just knit them in, and then you just keep going and you decrease, decrease, decrease. And she suggested you turn it inside out and do a 3-needle bind off, but turning it inside out with double points is just cumbersome, I think. So I just Kitchenered the top of his head. Don't look too closely because it's not perfect. Oh, and there are also purl bumps where you put the eyes. So unlike my philosophy on toys, which is put the eyes wherever you want, some people like that because they like that open-endedness. Other people want purl bumps. I get it. I totally get both things, but you can just kind of place them and put them where you like. And then I gave him this mouth that goes up on both ends, so it kind of looks like he's smiling. So that was a really cool construction. Typically when I do a toy, I'll do the body and then I'll pick up and knit the limbs off. I don't like the old school way where you knit everything separately and then sew it all together. So she gets around that in a different way than the way I would normally do it. Now this heart pattern, this is worsted weight yarn. I'm gonna link the pattern for this heart below. I was inspired by, or can you see my sweatpants? That's fine, no big deal. I was inspired by this tiny heart that Christy sent me, and I loved it so much that I went looking for a pattern. I could have just asked her, but I didn't. I don't like to bother people when I can just Google it. So I just Googled easy, flat, tiny heart patterns. And this one, I will link it below, is 3 rows. And it's like magic. I couldn't come up with it. Whoever came up with this pattern is a genius. I'm officially declaring it right now. They're a genius. So, and then I just stitched it on. Now in the original pattern, the heart here is a button, and I didn't have time to go shopping for buttons. So I just knit him a little heart and sewed it on there. But the leg warmers, they're just so great. So he also has, and I don't know why we're calling him he, I don't know, whatever. He has this little bag, so much fun. You can open it, and I'm gonna show it. I have a little segment with Charlotte where she shows it, and you can actually fit a good size thing in there. Like you could fit a tiny candy or a little friend. I was kind of hoping that the pattern had a little friend in it for him, but it did not. So that's one shortcoming, but you could easily come up with something, I would think. Now, the helmet is perhaps the best part. So it's knit in garter stitch, and it just has this window for his adorable face. It's just so great. What is stuck to that? I don't know. Okay, it's just so great. Now, there is a unicorn horn, and even though you can't see them, there are ears. There are unicorn ears in there. And then he has all of this. Yeah, and some of these I need to like trim a little bit better. But it's just the greatest thing ever. So then the skates, this one's got a little thing I need to cut off, but the skates are, you knit the bottom, you start at the bottom and you work your way up. And this is one piece and this is one piece. So it's a lot of like second sock syndrome. This is 4th set of wheels syndrome. It was a lot of wheels to knit, but I could knit them in front of her because they look just like little gray snowmen. And then when you sew them together, they end up looking more like wheels. Now the pattern had, she had like put laces and a little bow, but I thought a pom-pom would be cuter. So, I loved knitting this. Did I mention that I loved knitting it? And I just kind of can't look away from Tom. I just love him so much. I think he is pure fun and whimsy, and I just love him. I was looking at the pattern again this morning in preparation for talking to you about it. And she said, you know, if you want to knit a whole group of them, they can have a party. And I was like, I think they need to have a party. He's just so happy. I love it. So anyway, I highly recommend that pattern. I will link it down below if you want to knit it. Probably you have scraps that you can use. Even if you don't have them all in the same weight, it doesn't matter. Just the thinner yarns, hold them together. And the thicker yarns, you could go down a needle size and let them just be a little bit denser. I didn't even do that. I just went with it. If you went crazy, like a super bulky, that would be too much. You would obviously see that. So anyway, I wanted to show you about that. And I'm going to follow this up with Charlotte Shows Off, because she talks about that along with her knitting and a favorite book of hers that is a great gift idea if you are shopping for any children or grandchildren and you want just a wonderful, wonderful book. I think I paid like, I don't know, $11 or something on, I'll link this book down below too in case you're interested in that. You can get it on Amazon. But here is Charlotte talking about that.
Okay, so I want to show you guys something I made.
What'd you make?
So I made this a long time ago. I made it on last Sunday. That's why I've been waiting for a long time to show you guys. But so I'm going to show you one of them first. It's a coaster. This is called banana foot yarn.
This is from Hugh Loco. It's worsted, and I believe this color is called banana legs, but banana foot is good too, since bananas don't have feet or legs.
Yeah,
nice.
And then this I made.
That's another one, and this is some sugar and cream cotton yarn. It's like a little...
It's for my toy kitchen. Cause
it's perfect.
This one's a coaster because it's like kind of fluffy, and this one's like, it could be used for my toy kitchen to hold like a cup under it, like a coffee cup, because I have some coffee cups.
Yeah, almost like a coaster.
Yes.
So do you want to show us your very special...
I want to show the very special thing at the end.
Okay. So it was Charlotte's birthday this week, and she got this book. Want to show it?
Yeah.
We'll hold it up so we can see.
Extra yarn. Isn't it backwards though?
You see it backwards, but they'll see it not backwards.
Oh, that's nice.
So this is Extra Yarn by Mac Barnett. And
It's
it
a
is
really
the
good
cutest book.
Like, I want to... Because whenever she found this, one day she was out in the snow, and she found this box. But it wasn't any ordinary box. It was a special box. And she knit one for her friends.
What was in the box?
Yarn. All different colors of yarn.
And it never runs out.
Yeah, and it never ran out. So then at the end, there's this really rich guy that comes to see her. Cause
here he is.
Yeah, it's and this is a hard show.
Yeah, so I don't know about copyright. I don't know how much. I mean, we usually show a little bit of books, but
yeah, but and then he ends up stealing it.
He sneaks in and he steals the box because he offers her millions of dollars, and she says no, she won't give up her box.
Yeah, and then when he finally
never-ending yarn.
Yes, and then when he gets it, it's empty.
It's empty.
But then what happened was he threw it into the. He threw it out the window into the water, and then
here. Oh, here it is. Let's hold it.
She found it, and the yarn was in there.
Yeah. So the yarn existed for someone who was going to knit with it, I think, is the story. So it was Charlotte's birthday this week.
Yeah.
And she would like to show you her birthday present.
Yes. And I also have my ears pierced now.
Okay, good.
Okay, so I bring everywhere.
All right, show him.
Tom the roller skating unicorn.
There he is. There are his skates.
You can like see him. And everything comes off.
Yes.
Doesn't he look like a little fry if you take off the arms and legs and purse and heart?
Yeah. Well, the heart stays on.
I know.
Yeah, but a lot of other stuff comes off. All right.
And his little
bag.
Yeah, his little
cute. There we go. You can put something in there.
Yeah, you can put a button, or a tiny piece of paper that you cut out.
Yeah, or it could hold like a mini Snickers. We could definitely fit that in there.
We couldn't. Or it could hold coins.
Thanks for showing off with us, Charlotte. You gonna do any knitting today when we sit on the couch and watch Christmas movies? Maybe not. You
No.
need a break. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, the comments section. So many of you left me wonderful, wonderful comments. I'm going to read just a small handful of them. Sarah says, "Hi Devin, technology is so strange. I am not able to open the Advent Ornament PDFs on my personal computer, a MacBook, or my work computer, a Dell, but I can open them in my Goodreader apps on my iPhone and my iPad. I have no idea. It's a mystery to me. My brain does not understand why that happens. Everyone who has said, can you just email them to me? I was like, yep, here they are. Also, I made a decision about next year's Advent calendar. And believe me when I tell you, I didn't even think about this before. I'm going to include the printed patterns in the Advent calendar. Bing! It just didn't even occur to me. I just didn't even think of doing that. But I will do it next year because wouldn't it be nice just to have them right there? And you could also get them as an email, but then you'll have them both ways. Wouldn't that be great? Yes, it would. So that's what we're doing next year. Sarah also said, I will absolutely be there on your Patreon if you were to go that route. Lots of people weighed in on Patreon, and I really appreciate that. If you don't know what it is, basically Patreon is an app that you can have on your phone, and it's where people that you are interested in provide content behind a paywall. So you pay a small amount of money per month. Like I just joined Christy's Patreon. It's $6 a month, and it's fun. She puts stuff out all the time, and I just really enjoy doing it with her. I enjoy being a part of her Patreon. But I got more comments about Patreon too. So let's read a little bit more and talk more about that. Janie Burks said, I am so proud of you. Your discussion and research on the symbol was so wonderful. I greatly appreciate you stepping into it. You are the best. So last week we talked about swastikas. If you missed it, go ahead and back and check that out. I almost called the podcast like Mosaic Knitting and Swastikas, but I thought they're going to come after me if I do that. So I didn't. But anyway, I got a lot of comments on that too, which was super interesting. Such as this one from Bessie, who said, my great-grandparents purchased a cabin in the Sierra Nevadas over half a century ago. It was wood throughout, and on one wall in the living room above the fireplace, there were symbols along the top board near the ceiling. All the cousins would wonder what some of the symbols were, but there was one that was obviously the symbol. We just kind of nervously discussed it and had no idea why it was there. I could see how that would be unnerving, totally. One summer, I had a friend tag along on vacation and her dad picked her up. We gave the standard, shucks, we have no idea why the previous owners carved that symbol in the wall. Just ignore it, please. We are not Nazis. Okay, thanks. That's hilarious. He knew exactly what the symbols were and what all the symbols were. They were cattle brands that were used in the area, and the symbol in question was called the walking L. That makes sense. It's like it's walking all around. We all sighed with relief and went on with our lives. Oh gosh, that's the thing about evil, isn't it? Like it's pervasive. It pervades. And regular people like us who are just trying to have a trip at the lake have to deal with it. Lynn says, I'm watching a day late here in very cold England. I'd just like to say thank you for bringing up the topic of the symbol of light, the swastika. I've known about this since childhood as I was very into mythology. I was so upset for Stephen West, who had to redesign the first motif of his mystery knit pattern. One person noted the similarity, and a very long stretch it was too, to the swastika symbol. And so many people piled on with so much, in my humble opinion, ignorant virtue signaling. Horrid phrase, I know, but it fits here. We understand that Stephen was horrified that people would think that and was very upset. As you say, appropriation of good symbols for evil deeds and reason is just something that sadly happens. We should not allow the good things to be redefined as the bad. Good for you for telling the whole story and in a very calm manner. Unlike myself, she said, I'm afraid I got very cross. I feel really bad that happened to Stephen. I'm not in on what goes on, and so I missed it. I would definitely not have redesigned it though. The mob can swarm all they like, and I would have just said, well, then don't knit it. But maybe Stephen felt differently. Apparently he must have if he redesigned it. And she said, in other news, I'm about to begin my third faux set, which I consider a really genius pattern. I love it. Many thanks. Well, that's very kind of you. I don't know what to say about that. I really appreciate that. I think it just kind of flowed out of me when I was COVID quarantining. Okay, here is another helpful comment. Jennifer said, I cannot afford to do Patreons, so I am not a member of any, and I do not like it when podcasters take their podcasts off the free air and make you pay to watch the podcasts. So if you do the Patreon, and like you said, you leave the podcast free and the way it is, I don't care what you do with Patreon, but I don't want to lose you, and I don't want to have to, no offense. I don't want to have to pay to watch you. I think this is a very helpful and good comment. And I have to say, I kind of agree. That's kind of the feeling that I have. And it's kind of the brand that I have, that it's free and I want it to be free. I don't want you to feel like you're missing out if you don't pay to join in. So I guess that's kind of how I'm leaning right now. I'm fine with not doing Patreon. And I did get a lot of comments that people would say, I would totally do it. I would totally be on board if you decided to do it. But I got also some comments of people saying, that's not something I'm gonna do. And I totally get it and I respect it. So as of right now, I'm leaning pretty heavily away from doing it. Not only because I don't want to change this podcast, I like it the way it is, but also because I don't have a lot of spare time. This is my last year of homeschooling 2 and driving kids to school. Next year, I'll only be homeschooling 1. And I've got 1 going off to college. So I think next year, things will ease up a bit. Not to say that I'll do Patreon then, but I'll definitely do other things then. So anyway, that's kind of how I feel about it right now. Last comment is from another folk singer who said, just wanted to add some context on Barbara G. Walker, who I just happen to have her book still here from last week. She says, while she may be a knitting genius, she is also the author of some pretty wacky feminist theology books. To be honest, defending certain symbols and what they meant and that they meant other things in other times without clarifying that those other times and things were associated with the occult also kind of bugs me. So that's a good point too, that, even if we do talk about the swastika as a symbol that is not necessarily synonymous with evil, doesn't make it a Christian symbol either. So all good points. I really appreciated this. I thought people brought up a lot of interesting topics. So thank you as always for leaving me a comment. I really, really enjoyed reading them. Okay, here we are moving on to knitting fantasies. So I did what I normally do and I went onto Etsy and I typed in knitting patterns to see what comes up. Unfortunately, the thing about Etsy is that the algorithm there says, here are the patterns you've looked at before. So maybe you'd like to just look at them again. And it was a lot of scrolling. I did pick a couple, but honestly, if you're looking for something amazing to knit, go knit Kirby Werby /Tom because he was so much fun. But maybe you're looking for more of a sweater. Adorable sweater with puffins on it by Olya Begak. I just thought it was super cute. Comes in English in 9 sizes. The only thing I don't love about the sweater is that it is knit from the bottom up. Also, I went to see what weight of yarn it used and I couldn't find it in the description. So maybe I didn't dig deeply enough. Maybe it's there. I don't know. Could be anything. Could be fingering weight, could be worsted, although looks more like a fingering / DK weight, but you really can't tell by looks. It's really hard to tell. But check out also this adorable retro teddy bear by Joanna of Gray Bear something. I scribbled it, and so I don't know what it says, but I'll link all these patterns below if you're interested in knitting them. I just thought this little teddy bear was so, so cute. Knitters are so creative, and they just come up with so many amazing things. I absolutely love it. All right, so here's what happened. I feel like I've been very long-winded today. Hopefully you don't mind. Now, you might remember Rachel from last week, who had a wonderful story about 7 blue projects going at once. Well, she finished the sweater that was for her friend, and here's a picture of Rachel. Rachel is wearing, she says, a heavily modified yellow Cocoa Knits Eva cardigan. And this is her friend Nancy wearing her blue sweater. And I just thought it was so beautiful. I love seeing knitters in their sweaters. So, so good. All right, this week's story comes to us from a lovely knitter named Lindsay. Okay, I love this story. This story filled me with joy and has inspired me a little bit. So I'll tell you about that as we go. Lindsay says, I've wanted to write you this story for some time now, but I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Although this is my story, it is really a story about my friend Lori. A little backstory of my crafting journey. I moved to Arkansas with my husband when my then 3-year-old daughter for my husband's job in 2010. We knew absolutely no one and money was very tight. Previously, I worked full-time as my grandparents watched my daughter during the day. So the whole experience was very new to me, from my surroundings to not knowing a soul to becoming a full-time stay-at-home mom. That is hard. I remember that. I remember going from working and having built-in friends all day long to becoming a stay-at-home mom. And that was really lonely. I found that to be incredibly difficult. So I totally get you on that, Lindsay. Lindsay says, after a while, my husband said I needed to get a hobby as I had nothing for just myself. I didn't know what to do. So I went to Hobby Lobby and looked at their catalog of classes available. It was between cake decorating and crochet. I thought cake decorating would be me devouring way too many calories, so crochet it was. I stuck with the class until I had the hang of it and then just continued the craft on my own at home with craft store yarn for about 4 years. At this point, I was getting bored with my makes and wanted to make garments, but everything I saw was for knitting. Through a lot of trial and error, I purchased some knitting classes online that I watched over and over until I got it. Then I somehow found out that there was a yarn shop in my town. I was ecstatic. To my disappointment, I was not worthy to be shown attention. And when I seemed, it's a brain-mouth problem. It seemed I only represented a dollar sign, not a person to get to know or to answer questions for. Let me stop you there for a second, Lindsay. I totally understand this phenomenon. I have had this happen to me on a number of occasions. And here is what I have decided. A lot of jerks own yarn stores. It's not about who you are or how you look or any of that. It's just that a lot of jerks own yarn stores. And if you go into a yarn store and they treat you like garbage, that says everything about them and nothing about you. And I'm really glad that I think that's essentially what Lindsay thought too, because she tried again. Lindsay said, now, quite a bit of time has passed and I discover Ravelry and YouTube so that I can now order yarn and tools from beautiful makers online. So I essentially continue crafting on my own. One day, I see something on Instagram. Arkansas Yarn Company with the tagline that says, "Come and see how we're different here." And that just underscores the truth that a lot of yarn store owners are jerks, because she had to point it out, not that she was pointing it out, but that she was saying, I'm nice. And that's different. And that Lindsay and probably other people were like, yes, that's what I've been looking for. So Lindsay says, I was intrigued. This yarn shop was in a town 45 minutes away, and I asked my husband if he would drive me there. I had been burned before, and I just honestly wanted the emotional support if it was more of the same. I walked in to the beautiful building, and Lori, the owner, immediately approached me with a huge smile. I knew that very second that this was the real deal. The thing about Lori is that she loves people. She loves community. She loves makers, and she loves upbuilding people. She says community over competition. The more I got to know Lori and her team, her daughter, Jessica, her daughter, Jessa, and Anna, the more I kept making the trip over and over, and the more I developed a real friendship. There's no time to detail everything I had experienced, but the shortened version is that because of Lori, I have started my own podcast, 2 years going in December. I got to help plan the Arkansas Yarn Company first ever knitting retreat, teach classes at the yarn shop, and recently released my own designs on Ravelry. None of these things were even on my radar until I met Lori and received her constant encouragement. This woman truly lays her heart on the line and tries to help all of her friends succeed. I have seen her get hurt by people because of this, but then I've also seen the close-knit circle of friends who are the most loyal people you will ever meet. I have learned that even if I don't have many followers on Instagram, subscribers on YouTube, or if down the line someone cancels me, it doesn't matter, because my close circle of friends, I wouldn't give up for anything. I strive to be more like my amazing friend and just wanted to shout about her from the rooftops. And I want to encourage those who have had bad experiences in the knitting community not to give up. You just haven't met your people yet. They are out there. They are here. They are in Lori's shop. They exist, and they are real, and they're wonderful. Lindsay says, I've included a picture of myself and Lori from last year at her daughter Jessa's wedding. And this is a beautiful picture of both of them. I love how Lindsay is wearing a sweater. I don't know this design, but I love it, and I think it's gorgeous. And Lori, you can just tell from her face that she's a people person and that she loves people. And that is what you need to run a successful store. She also quoted a line from Jason Mraz. It takes no time to fall in love, but it takes you years to know what love is. That is beautiful. And Lindsay and I messaged back and forth a little bit because I was like, please tell me more about the Arkansas Yarn Co. knitting retreat, because I really, 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 really want to go. Can I come? I want to go. So I don't think the registration is open yet, but if I can get in, I am absolutely going. So Lindsay suggested that I follow Lori on Instagram. She's Arkansas Yarn Co. on Instagram. And I guess she'll announce when it goes up, but I'm hoping I get to go. Please. And I hope you'll come too. But I don't know. Who knows? I have no idea how big this thing is or how many people come or whatever. But I've never been to Arkansas. And the mug that I have, my Arkansas mug, I think it's from that retreat that Lori designed that mug, or had it designed for the retreat. Just like my Arkansas little stitch marker thing, which I just used on Tom. It's not on him anymore. I don't know why I'm holding him up. But anyway, I really want to go to that retreat and meet Lori and meet more wonderful knitters. So it's exciting. Thank you so much for joining me. You guys are wonderful. I plan to spend my day on the couch watching Christmas movies and knitting. Hope to see you here next week. Have a wonderful week. Happy Advent calendar knitting, or whatever it is you're knitting. And I'll see you next Sunday. Bye, knitters.